Hey, how's it going? So I kind of want to start doing a more fun video once a week on Tuesdays called Terrible Deck Tuesdays. I think LDF does this now, but also Puka used to do it on his channel, The Top Cut, when he did YouTube back in the day. And I think Yellow Swallow also used to have a video once a week like this. Just gives it a chance to play a more fun deck that is clearly kind of a joke, but yeah. So this is the Simi deck. I always kind of wish that these cards were a little bit better because I think it's kind of a really cool idea. They could have made them a lot stronger because they all only have 100 HP. It is kind of a lot of setup for a minimum return, and they could have made the attacks do like a significant amount more. And I don't think it would have been like broken or anything. So I don't know why they did that. But we have Simisear. That's overall the main attacker. That's why there's a 4/4 line of that. The Heat Tackle does 190 damage and 30 to itself, but it's going to be how we like two-shot things, and you just want more of those guys because 190 damage tends to be the best. The Simisage might be slightly better, but it's only viable in certain matchups. It does 100 damage, and then we can't be damaged by Pokemon with abilities next turn. And then the Simipour does 50 and then 30 to the bench, so it's like a kind of a good finish attacker. But they all have the same ability, Monkey Trio, that if we have all of them in play, we can ignore the colorless energy cost of the attacks. So, it's kind of cool. You get to attack for 1 energy. That's why we're playing the Luminous, and we had 2 fire and 1 grass so that we can find the energy with Arven. I originally wasn't playing Arven in this deck, but I built this deck before Hyper Aroma came out, and I figured that was kind of the best card to go with this. You just get all your Simis with 1 card. So I had to fit some Arvens in here. Unfortunately, I kind of get sick of playing that card. But just being able to like pick cards out of the deck is pretty good. So I also added a TM Evo. Never know when that could be good. We have 4 Poffin and 2 Artazon just to find basics. This deck needs a lot of basics. Could also play some Nest Balls, but it's kind of tight for space. 3 Super Odds, you need to get them back. We had to put a Manaphy in here, but I don't know if you can really afford to play the Manaphy after playing some decks or some games with it. Like, you almost need to play it to not just lose the game in certain spots, but putting it down, and then you can't have a Bibarel down because you need all your monkeys and a backup guy for whatever your attacker is. The deck's kind of convoluted, but it's really cool. I thought these were cool Pokemon. I always hoped that they would be good, but unfortunately they're not. And yeah, that's the deck. So let's get into the games. All right, so we're going first. In this video, I just kind of played 3 games, and I'm just gonna play them through in the order that I played them. I'm just playing on the casual ladder because this is just fun deck. I'm not gonna beat anyone on the ranked ladder with this deck, unfortunately. We have kind of a weird start here. I'm debating Ultra Balling so that I could at least attack next turn, but I don't know that I really want to attack with the water one anyway, Simipour. So, and I can't retreat. There's no like escape board or anything in here. Oh, I do end up just Ultra Balling, but it's for a Bidoof because, that hand kind of sucked. I have Hyper Aroma for next turn. I can evolve to Bibarel. Then we can kind of get rolling. We're up against Ancient. This is probably not the best matchup. We can one-shot them with the Simisear, I think it is, the grass guy. But it's just going to be easier for them probably to keep attacking than it's going to be for us. Because we have to evolve every turn, get down to basic, and evolve. They use the secret box. The card's actually really good in the Ancient decks. It's really nice just to be able to get a supporter. I mean, it gets you pretty much everything you want. If it grabbed a Pokemon too, that would be kind of insane. A Pokemon and an energy, but that would probably be too much card value. They are gonna get an attack off this turn, it looks like. They got the energy in the discard now. They can Sada. They probably really wanted to get 2 energies in the discard. I wonder what else was in their hand, because I don't know. If I were them, I would have wanted to play the Pokestop to try and like hit another energy into the discard pile. Yeah, so I think I just have to send up the Pansear this turn because it's the one that I have the most of, and I don't really mind losing it. Maybe I can, hopefully I can find another one. I'm just going to super add here just to draw as many cards off the Bibarel as possible. I do get a Poffin, which is kind of the bare minimum that I need for next turn. I can play the Hyper Aroma this turn, but I could also just hold it. I don't really think they're going to disrupt my hand, and I can boss too to disrupt them a little bit, bring up their Greninja. Maybe they don't have energy, they can't find one. I don't know. It's possible. And it makes it less likely that they'll just be able to boss like my Pansage or my Panpour. In hindsight, I probably should have used the Hyper Aroma ahead of time just to increase my top deck odds, but I figured I got Bibarel and stuff, so it doesn't really matter. And they're getting more Ancients in the discard, which they don't really need to, but they want to thin out their deck for sure. They're already doing more than enough damage to knock out every Pokemon in my deck. I doubt that they know what these Simi guys do. I don't think many people do. I just thought they were cool when they came out, and I've been wanting to play with them for a while, but after I built the deck and like thought through all the like matchups and stuff, they just don't do enough damage. But this is a perfect chance to get to play the Simi deck. So now I could probably send up the grass one, the Simisage, or I probably shouldn't send him up. I couldn't remember what the fire one did. I couldn't remember if it was 190 and burn, but it's 190 and 30 to yourself, which is way worse than 190 and burn. This is where the Hyper Aroma is really good. I can just get enough guys out of the deck to start attacking. And I don't know what. All right. I got nervous about grabbing the wrong stuff or something. This is kind of funny because I start attacking with this grass guy. Well, I guess we'll just see, but give a barrel first. It's really situational if you want to barrel first or not. Sometimes you just got to go with your gut, and at that time I felt like I wasn't going to get screwed over, but I didn't get screwed over. But you never know what you're going to draw if you don't want to get rid of something. I really would have preferred to not get rid of the fire energy there, but it did get us to the grass energy either way, so it's fine. I can just throw down this Pansear as well. That's going to be the only other attacker that we use. Or I could save the bench spot for another Bidoof, but I just end up using the arm thrust needle. Another thing about this matchup, they could just put a Flutter Mane in the active and attach to it 3 turns in a row and win, because that shuts off my ability, so I can't attack them back. But this is the casual ladder, you know, it's just people who just get into the game or just learning decks or whatever. Yeah, so we got our Simisage. We got pretty well set up with that the Hyper Aroma. I don't know, it seems like it would have been kind of fine without it, but I don't think we would have found the Simipour, so maybe it wouldn't have been fine. That really kind of gets the deck set up, and then you just need to find like an Ultra Ball and like an Artazon or something. And the way stadiums are right now, I've had Artazon stick in decks where I play it like quite a bit. A lot of your opponents don't mind keeping it in play, and then you obviously aren't going to bump your own stadium. That's the one you play. So I can just super add here if I want and maybe just thin the deck out, but I'm going to risk if I have a fire in deck. I think both of them were in there, and they were. That's pretty nice. I can just get ahead on attachments, which is pretty nice in a deck like this. Evolve up all the guys and draw through with Bibarel. If I get a boss, I think I play one more boss. Yeah, I can bring up that Roaring Moon and knock it out, which is kind of nice. Just keep using the grass guy. We're really literally only using it for weakness purposes. Of course, they're not going to be attacking with any Pokemon with abilities unless it is the Flutter Mane, and that kind of cancels each other out because that makes it so I can't attack. So it's kind of a weird situation. Like I could have started getting ahead on energy attachments like on the Simisage, but they're going to knock that out so easily that I don't really see the point of attaching more energy to it. And kind of hoping that my opponent just won't see the Flutter Mane thing. And they keep getting rid of them, so maybe they don't. They only got 8 cards left in deck. It's kind of wild. Like, I can't imagine they don't have another Sada in hand. They do just end up conceding for whatever reason. Alright, so it looks like we are up against Dragapult. This is probably the worst matchup in the meta right now for this deck. Now, I did try to record these next 2 games, like talking during the game and stuff, but I didn't have my mic set up in the right spot, unfortunately. So it just was like cutting in and out way too much, and I couldn't use that because it would just be impossible to listen to without audio. But I'm going to try to start doing that. It's just kind of hard. The way that I have my computer set up where I play is like right in the middle of everything, so there's always people walking through and stuff. But enough about that. So I get a pretty good setup here. Now, I was like talking about during the game how I think you want to go first with this deck, or I'm not really sure, but I'm like leaning towards first because second feels kind of back to like guaranteed to get your active knocked out no matter what. But if you go first, you have like the high roll potential of just like getting an insane setup. Like if I went first here, I'd have a pretty good shot at getting whatever I wanted on my second turn. So yeah, I think you probably go first and just high roll it. And I do just like Vessel and choose not to research. What more could I possibly get this turn? I could get ahead on attachments. I can evolve to Bibarel, draw a few cards, Ultra Ball, and then research next turn. So yeah, I think I definitely hold on to this hand for now. They do something extremely annoying here and boss up my Bidoof. Now I have to attack with the Simisear instead of the Simisage, the grass guy, like I wanted to, because that guy doesn't damage himself. He can't be hit by Charizard. It's pretty good. And I am also forced to Ultra Ball away one of my energy here, which kind of sucks, but I don't want to just get rid of the Ultra Ball. I grabbed the Simipour PAR because I have 4 Simisears in the list. I think I did prize 2 of them if I remember right. I ended up drawing one anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now we can retreat and do, or no, that's a different game I was thinking of. I prized a bunch of supporters this game. Now we can retreat and knock out this Dreepy. I was debating like, how good is that really? But with them only having one Dreepy, 1 Dracloak in play, I think it's fine to just get rid of that thing. It does damage my guy. That's the most unfortunate part. And then if they don't knock me out this turn, I do 30 more damage to myself, and then they can knock out my Simisear off of the bench, which would be unfortunate. That's kind of what we want to avoid in this matchup. Again, the reason that I put down a second Bidoof was because I thought they were just going to go candy attack. That's what happens generally when I play against this online, but they didn't do that. And now I'm just stuck with an extra 60 HP Pokemon on the bench for no reason. Hopefully I can evolve that next turn. They are afraid of my Simipour, which is kind of funny. I didn't really plan on attacking with that. It's just too hard to scream him. And like one of the attacks is kind of meaningless. But now I am sitting here with a damaged Simisear in the active, and I have to decide whether or not to attack with it. I do Iono first just to disrupt their hand. And oh yeah, this is the, oh my god. I didn't want to attack with the Simisear. As you could see, I wanted to attack with the Simisage. And if they knocked me out last turn, I just wouldn't be able to attack the next turn. Would be very unfortunate. I wanted them to knock out, I thought they were going to knock out my active and my Bidoof off the bench, and I would have room to put down 2 more guys, and I wouldn't end up in this situation here where I can't even attack with probably the better attacker because I'll basically lose. So now we just have to hope that they don't bring up my Simisear off the bench. Oh yeah, and if I attacked with it again, even if they didn't knock me out, they'd be able to knock me out off the bench the next turn. That would be very unfortunate. I'd lose a turn, and this is a rough matchup, so I want to gain as many turns as possible, or keep as many turns. I don't know how to word that, whatever. Yeah, now I'll attack with him so I can get another one on the bench. I top deck the Poffin, and in hindsight of what happens at the end of the game, I keep using Poffins over the Artazon because I want to draw with Bibarel and thin my deck out. But I think at a certain point I should just start using the Artazon and save my Poffins. And just like debating what to grab here, if I grab Hyper Aroma, it almost feels like a waste because I can only evolve one of my guys this turn. So I'll just save it for later. I don't know. I guess now is as good of a time as any to use it. But also Ultra Ball thins out the hand. That is one thing I noticed after this game. Like the games that go really long, you almost want like capturing aromas or something because you end up running out of Pokemon search at a certain point. I just ran out of items in my deck, I think, at a certain point. But now we're in like not the worst spot in the world. If they grab a boss, we're in the worst spot in the world. But they just Kuro. Oh, I get down another 3P. That makes sense. I guess they kind of had to do that. Even though if they bossed my Pansear, they would have made it so that they didn't get knocked out next turn. And they could have just Kuro'd the turn after that and it wouldn't have really mattered. Now this is where I should have used Artazon because this is my last Poffin and they're clearly going to start knocking out both my Bibarels, which is very annoying. But I choose to Bibarel first because Hyper Aroma is going to grab me a bunch of Pokemon to hand. Or I guess just 2, but I wouldn't have been able to Bibarel after that. This deck is like flowing way more smoothly than I would have thought it was. I think that's like on the back of Bibarel basically. When I first had this deck idea in my head, I imagined it to be way harder to like get all the guys going and stuff. That's annoying. They E-hammer my energy. Lugia made it so that every deck plays E-hammer. That's another thing. I thought about playing Legacy Energy in this deck. Because that might like, I was thinking that would actually give it a real chance against certain decks. But it might, but then you just might not get set up where Hyper Aroma just makes it so you get set up and then you can hope to win from there instead of high rolling the setup every game. Because this is a very high maintenance deck. But they're gonna Devo both of my Bibarels, which almost seems like a little too cute. They're not gonna lose at this point. I guess they don't want to just jet headbutt for the knockout and they couldn't get the other energy. I don't know. I don't really know about that play. It was kind of weird. It was a little unnecessary. I feel like there's something better they could have been doing. Like if they just put damage on my Simipour 2 turns in a row, that would put me in a really weird spot with the 2 Bibarels on the bench. I didn't really manage my bench very well is ultimately what this like comes down to looking like. I probably could have grabbed a Panpour off of that just to make sure there's no funny business. I do Arven, all I have is super odds left, so maybe I could have gone a little bit lower on the monkey line. But I don't know. I figured 4-4 kinda 4-4-3-3-2-2 based on like relevance of attacker made the most sense to me, so what we went with. Now our hand is terrible, and like I said in the video, if they do just boss, they do just win, so I'll just concede and not make them put all the damage counters in play and stuff. But yeah, we end up losing that one, which is expected with a deck like this. All right, so our opponent chose to go first, and we do get a mulligan here, which is fine. It's whatever. We get 2 Pansears, and this is one of the hands I'm pretty glad that we're not going first with. This would not much would be happening with this hand if we went first. It'd be kind of unfortunate, but we can just Ultra Ball, check the deck, see what's going on in there, and probably Arven I think, yeah, we can get Manaphy plus all the guys with that. And they could Greninja next turn. That's why I want to get the Manaphy. But if it's not in there, I'll probably just end up researching. So I want to find more basics than just the two that I'll be able to get off of Arven. And yeah, they might knock out the wrong things. Because like I said, I don't think most people really know what the Simis do. Off the top of their head at least. Like I'm sure that they've heard of them before, but I don't know if they really know off the top of their head that all of them need to be in play or whatever. Yeah, I'm just gonna Ultra Ball here, get rid of Iono Super Rod. I think I probably could have held on to the Super Rod. Oh, actually, no, I couldn't have. Never mind. Oh yeah, I could have, because I could have Ultra Balled away the TM Evo and used Call for Family. In hindsight, and here I almost forget the Manaphy, but I end up remembering it. At this point, I'm like thinking, oh man, maybe Call for Family would actually just be better than TM Evo. I could get a Bidoof down or a second Pansage, because that is the one that I want two of. But I do just end up using the TM Evo to get the water and the grass guy. Because like I said earlier, there are less of them in the deck, so might as well grab them first. I have much better odds of drawing into a Simisear. If I checked my prizes, I think I would find out I have better odds of drawing into a Simisage, but so the Simisage is probably going to be pretty decent in this matchup, especially if they fill their bench like this, where they leave only, if they put Cram in play now, the Simisage is actually going to be really good for a few turns. And what I would probably want to end up doing is hitting into the Cram for 100, hitting into the Greninja for 100, and then using Simipour PAR to knock them both out at the same time. It would probably be much nicer if they had another Pokemon in play with an ability without, or with more than 100 HP. So I'd rather just hit into all their Pokemon and leave their board locked where they can't attack and set up for a board wipe kind of a deal. But yeah, that's just not going to happen because Comfy only has 70 HP and it gets knocked out really easily. My opponent's going pretty wild this turn. They have basically gone through their whole deck. They're down to 16 cards. They have so much in the Lost Zone. They put their Iron Hands in there. They put their Iron Bundle in there. Those are two cards that I really love to see gone, because both those would be very annoying. Like if they could just bundle up one of my bench guys. Well, I could just send up the one that I'm going to evolve next turn, but Iron Hands would be quite detrimental. And I do just grab a Bibarel and two Simisears, because I probably could Ultra Ball for a Bidoof. I don't know if I end up doing that though. This hand's kind of awkward for an Ultra Ball. Like I want the Vessel for next turn to retreat a basic energy off the Manaphy. I'd rather retreat those off if I can get them back. And now that I've evolved all my guys, I'm not like too worried if they canceling clone or something like that. They won't be able to take two prizes. They could knock out the Manaphy and do 90 to something, but I don't know how much that is really going to matter. And now they have put the Cramorant on the bench, so now I can try and do my plan here of like hit into this, counter catcher up the Greninja, hit into that, maybe Iono them and knock them both out in one turn. Here I'm just debating what to set up for some reason. I don't think I've quite realized what I want to do yet. I'm debating if I want to knock out the Cramorant or not. And this Simisear does kind of have free retreat, so I just throw that up there. I can attach fire to it in Iono. Hopefully I'll hit a Poffin or a Artazon. And I do end up hitting both. That's pretty cool. I don't have my other Pansage, so I'm just gonna get Bidoof. I can heavy ball for it. I did prize 2 and 2 Simisears, which it's fine. It's not really the end of the world or a big deal. And here I am debating if I want to leave them with Pokestop or Artazon. I'm kind of talking about how a lot of the times when I play people playing Lost Box online, they end up... Alright, sorry about that. Someone walked through and I had to stop recording. I wish that I could remember what I was talking about, but I do mess up here, and I think I do end up counter catching up the Greninja, which really makes no sense. I should hit into the Cram first. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I do. Yeah, I don't know why I do stuff like this so often. I like play a card and then immediately regret it. Like, oh, why did I do that? It's weird how like afterwards I can tell that it wasn't the right thing to do, but before it's like, I don't know. Definitely one of the things I'm trying to work on, just being able to concentrate more during actual games and stuff. But yeah, they can't hit into me. I don't really know what they're gonna do. There's really no point of them to just retreat and comfy again. So retreating to the Cram does make sense. Unless they have... I think... Did they already use their Prime Catcher actually? Yeah, they did, to get an extra comfy turn 1. Now they've retreated to the Cram, where I don't know if they did this by accident or on purpose to try and like tank for an extra turn. But this is exactly what I wanted them to do. You would think they'd retreat to comfy and so that I can knock something out, so they can put another Pokemon in play, like Sableye. They need to put Sableye in play. I think that's the only non-ability attacker that they have left is their Sableye. So that's definitely going to be what they're looking for. Well, they will be able to use ability guy next turn. Yeah, not this turn, but the next turn, because probably will end up retreating and attacking with Simipour PAR next turn. I would like to hit into a comfy though, like do 50 to the comfy, 30 to everything, and knock out the Greninja and the Cram. That will give them access to counter catcher though, which is kind of unfortunate, but I mean, I gotta knock out the guy something at some point. They do heavy ball for the Blood Moon, so presumably their Sableye is in the deck. Now they leave the comfy in the active, which makes sense. And this is where it gets kind of weird. I really don't want to retreat off these luminous energies because they are a limited thing in the deck, and I am essentially playing a one prize deck right now where I'm gonna have to attack at least like 5 more times or 4 or 5 more times. Even if they put a 2 prizer into play, it's going to take me like 2 or 3 hits to knock it out. So it's going to be the same as a 1 prizer. And I do just end up knocking out the comfy with the Simisage for that reason. I just don't want to lose energy or lose one of my luminous energies just to attack once. And then if they don't knock out my Simipour, I guess I could just keep attacking with it. I don't know, maybe that was better. They are playing Roaring Moon though. And now they're going to Mirage Gate onto the Greninja. And I guess they ended up conceding. I'm still not too sure why they did that. Maybe they didn't have access to another super odd to put cards back in their deck. Maybe they realized that they needed to send up their comfy to flower selecting that water out of the deck. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but hey, like, I don't know. I played 3 games and this is what ended up happening. I don't know. Normally I would try for more competitive, interesting games, but with, this being just such a bad deck, I just played 3, and those are the 3 that I put up because, I don't know. I don't think that I was just going to end up getting dominated over and over again, or it was going to be more like that. I think the only way that this deck is probably really going to win is through either incompetence of your opponent, actually basically just your opponent not really knowing what to do, not being as experienced of a player, because any one of the people that I played against, like even Charizard at face value might be like, oh, it's a good matchup, they can't attack you, so on, but you almost just can't have enough backup like Simi basics on the bench. So if you have a Bibarel in play, there's always going to be one simi guy that they can knock out and you won't be able to put back the next turn. So you either, like if they just do that, then they buy a turn, you can't use the grass guy's attack and they can knock you out, or they could double counter catcher, or like, I don't know, you'd have to like build up 3 energies onto the Simisage through manual attachments, which is really unlikely against Charizard. Like they start putting on pressure pretty early. Yeah, so that's like really Lost Box probably is one of the better matchups for the deck, and I still don't think it's a good matchup. It's just like winnable. Like my opponent there just mismanaged their board, but they did have Roaring Moon that could, they don't even need to discard a stadium for the effect. They could just knock me out over and over again. But yeah, either way, I do really like the concept of this deck. I wish they made the guys a little better. Like if the fire guy did 220 or 230, probably would have to do 230. And if the grass guy did like 130 or something like that and no basics, and then a better attack. And if there was a better attack on the water guy, like maybe 70-30 spread. And probably most of all though, they would need to have 140, 150 HP. And I still don't know how good they would be, because really it comes down to not having enough bench spots to like keep them lined up to go, or keep them lined up and attacking, and the meta is not very friendly to it right now, especially when that new Dusknoir comes out. It's just gonna like, that could just, I don't know, that card's gonna be rough. You could just knock out a guy off the bench and yeah, and knock out your active and just get rid of both of your backup guys. But yeah, that's the Simi deck. I don't know, I just wanted to do something a little different. I'm probably gonna do this every Tuesday, and I'm gonna try to start doing more than just like playing random decks, like talk about, I don't know, I've wanted to do a video on sequencing. I'll probably do that later on this week, or at least like a start to a series. I kind of want to do like, you know, everyone watching this probably already knows, but like, you know, how to play the game, like starting like with just explaining the game, the rules of it and stuff, and then get more detailed into like just how, like literally how to play the game, and then like how to play the game better, stuff like that. Like really want to get into sequencing, prize mapping, how to kind of prepare for tournaments, like the best ways that I think are the best ways that someone could get better at the game. But yeah, like or dislike or comment, subscribe like they say, and yeah, thanks for watching and have a good one.